Hey ho, internet. Time to review one of my favorites. So the last time I reviewed this, it was a first look. It was quite some time ago. And I brought it with me and I forgot to bring the box. I don't know whether I said I forgot to bring the box, but especially with something like this, I really want to bring the box. So you already know what it is, but we're going to bring it in slowly for a nice reveal for the actual video. And that is the Grave Raven Binary Fusion, aka the Grave Raven, not calling it Binary Fusion because we're stubborn and we love the way Grave Raven sounds. So first things first, I think on the Hummingbird someone didn't enjoy the fact I talked about the box for a little while, but skip ahead a couple times. Probably going to take me 30 seconds to get through the box on this guy because I love it. So first, look at that design. Just so aesthetically pleasing, so simple, such a nice cross between kind of handmade quality and well designed and engineered. So obviously that kind of looks like handwriting, but there's just something the way it's done in that metallic blue that I really appreciate. So the box also it's got a really nice finish on it. The clouds kind of came out. I'm not sure how good the quality is showing up here. Should still be pretty good. Really nice blue on the side here. It's got a little magnetic latch, nice curve here. Just a lot of little simple things. And simple's hard to do right. Try and do simple. Not easy. A lot harder than it looks. Once you see it, you're like, oh, that's all they did. But to get to that point takes a lot. So nice little magnetic latch. We lift it up. Boom. We get the spinner and this nice little velvet little, see if we can kind of really appreciate. Yeah, see that? Soft. Wonderful packaging. So I know I'm kind of on the fence sometimes of whether I want extra money spent in the packaging, and this is definitely too big to put in a pocket, but still small enough to not take up a ton of space, and really appreciate this. So we approve that. Spinner comes in a little baggie. So this is the stainless steel version. So we're going to talk about the stainless steel version for just a second, because the way I got a hold of this was on pre-order. So rather than doing drops, you switch to a pre-order format. So you go to the website, you sign up, and I think probably in the neighborhood of about 6 weeks, which is, to be fair, about what the pre-order time was. So rather than doing a pre-order where you wait 6 weeks to get it and you don't have that money, you get on a wait list. You don't have to fight with drops. It still takes you about 6 weeks to get it, and then you get to pick the one that you want at that time. So I already had the, and I didn't even realize I signed up, to be honest, and I almost wanted to give my spot away. But as a reviewer and as someone that likes the Hummingbird and some other lighter models, I figured I owed it to myself and to you guys to get a stainless steel. Maybe I'll sell this if someone really wants it for $80. Let me know. 80 plus shipping, because that's what it cost me, and it's in great shape. Haven't done anything to it, so. Really good. So so their shipping order, wow, we got some jets today. I think you guys can still hear me, although that's going to be pretty loud. The pre-order versus or drop versus waitlist, I actually really like the waitlist. It kind of takes away some of the hype and excitement, which I think builds some of the enthusiasm behind a spinner. But this guy doesn't need any of that. He doesn't need any of that business. It's just Brian Turner out there to do some good work for us, so we dig that. So let's pull it out next to, So we're looking at the flat buttons on both. I think my preference does lean towards the flats. The bowls are actually nice, and I think on a smaller one, I should have brought them with me so I could switch them out and test them. Because I don't think you need the grip quite as much, and even though they're a little more slippery, they offer some good grip. But the flats are good, and you can see some of the patina we got going on here. It's also worth going back and looking at my previous video, because you can see the patina that the tungsten copper gets after some fidgeting, and it didn't look far off the stainless steel. And I know what you're saying. You're like, no way, it looked like that. And you go back and look at my video, you'll notice that. But here, we're going to prove it to you. Ready? Look at the shine under the buttons, yo. So if we take that out of the picture, so where it hasn't really patinaed. So it's got it's 30% copper, so it's got a little bit more of that copper color to it. Copper, you never catch me anything. But look, I mean, I'm not joking. Like, they're pretty, if you just look at just the middles around the bearing. If anything, this is more polished and shiny. So, but again, slightly got some of those brown tints to it. While we got the buttons off, let's weigh these guys, because it is fair to weigh them without the buttons, because I think that's how he lists them on the website. So, and maybe if those clouds stay out just a little bit, you'll be able to see the numbers. Not really. Let's bring it in here. All right, 34 grams for the stainless steel. 62 grams, so just about double for the tungsten copper. Now, when I first got the stainless steel, when I opened it up out of the box, for whatever reason, it felt really heavy. I'm like, there's no way he accidentally sent me a tungsten, did he? And then I grabbed the tungsten and I was like, oh yeah, absolutely not. But this has a good density to it. That feels really nice to spin. Let's put our buttons back on here. Let's put them in frame so you can see them. So again, these copper buttons, I'm not a huge fan of copper, see? But this one is patinaed kind of nicely. So buttons, I don't mind the copper if it's gonna patina nicely, but the whole spinner being copper, I don't know, just for me, it just doesn't do it. It just doesn't do it. But let's talk about these guys a little bit now that we've had them for a long time, and you've seen my top 10 review where the Grave Raven made it to #1. They're just they're so fun. They feel like high-end jewelry, which essentially is what they pretty much are. But it's nice to kind of get that, you know, like this is something I could imagine like you going to a flea market and getting something really, really high-end, high quality, yet something that someone made. So there's a couple things, especially I noticed balance is pretty good. Tungsten, its density is off a little bit, so you can see the spinners wobble a little. And I guess before we get into kind of the handmade vibe, let's just get spin times out of the way before I forget. So this still has the shielded bearing you saw. This I de-shielded and cleaned, and I didn't bother putting the shields back on in case I wanted to clean it a little bit more. So on a table spin, we were getting just over 4 minutes on this guy, 4:20 I want to say. It was actually just about identical spin times, a little bit more than the chunk, which we looked at yesterday by Stealth Spinners. But it has a smaller bearing. It doesn't have an R188, so that should be said as well. These buttons are not going to fit other spinners. Other buttons are not going to fit this, and the bearing that's in there is a little smaller than an R188, so you can get some better spin times from that smaller bearing to mass ratio. And yes, that cough has not left me yet. So spin times on this guy, yeah, vertical spins. We were getting right around 7 minutes. I want to say 6:45, something like that. And again, a little over 4 minutes on a table spin. So pretty good for a little light stainless steel spinner. So we got good spin times. It's light, it's fast. On this guy, we're getting, now I have cleaned and de-shielded this months ago. So I've actually had this spinner, I looked at my review video, so I probably had this spinner just over 2 months now. Which feels like an eternity to be fair, but I guess it really isn't that long. But in any event, so I've had this spinner for about 2 months. I probably cleaned it in the first week and a half, 2 weeks that I got it, and I haven't cleaned it since. We're gonna have to remember to do a warp like that so I can show you what I'm talking about. But I haven't cleaned it since, and I'm getting 6:30 on a table spin and about just shy of 11 minutes on a vertical spin. So I think we can get some really good spin times cleaning this guy again, because I've spun it a lot. It's got to be near broken in. I'm pretty sure they're hybrid ceramics. I should look on the website. I should have done that ahead of time. I just took it for granted, but I'm 99% sure these are hybrid ceramics. So if they're not, I'll put a little disclaimer or something in here, but we'll say they're hybrid ceramics, and if not, you just read down below. Read right here. Or you probably would have already read it, but anyway. So let's talk about these guys. So having them both in hand, at first, so when I first got this, like I said, I took it out of the box. I was like, oh, is this tungsten? Probably spent it for 10-15 minutes before I went and grabbed this one. It was like, man, maybe people just need to get this one, save themselves some money. No, absolutely not. This is nice, lovely, lovely spinner. But if you're going to spend this sort of money on this spinner, I would recommend a, like a Hummingbird. I think is probably the better spinner at this size, just in terms of which one I would keep if it was stainless steel. But the tungsten copper in this size is just beautiful. So this is still a great spinner. And maybe I take it back. I don't know if I would say like get a Hummingbird or this. I think whichever one you like aesthetically. This is a little smaller, a little more pocketable, a little more unique. So I don't think I can quite say that. So I'm taking that back. But that said, between these two, this is, if the money is not an issue, which again you're looking at, I think 85 bucks for this versus 200 for this. Pretty big difference, but it's worth it with the material and the way this spins. Excuse me, sorry about that, y'all. Again, like I said, that cough won't leave. But yeah, so really, really nice spinners. But like I was saying before about high-end jewelry and kind of somewhere between being machined and handmade, and I actually like these little subtle things that say like, hey, this is something that is done by hand. So if you look at these little flats here, this is where I kind of notice it the most. Look at the way this is rounded here. Now the bottom is just not quite the same width, or I guess the top is not quite the same width as the bottom here, like it's a little wider. And then if you flip it over, you'll see these sides are just rounded a little bit more, where these edges are a little bit more pronounced. So on the warp especially, we just saw, you'll see that. Oh, and the sun's going to come out, so we can hopefully see that really well. You'll see it like flashing, right? So see how there's like kind of that shake on the sides? As you see one side versus the other. Just the slight differences in those angles and those cuts. So it's just some little things like that that you really feel, and that you just, when you get your hand on it, you can feel that and appreciate it. Again, it's one of those very subtle, tangible things that there's no way I can really do it justice showing you a video here. This one being stainless steel is a little easier to machine, so these are a little more even. It's also, you know, from a newer run, so I'm sure he's got that formula down. Oh, and I meant to show you the stuff that comes in the box, just because this is kind of neat too. So certificate of authenticity, so C270, I don't know if that's the 270th one he's made, and then in stainless steel. Then we've got this little card, and then just a little bit of care and maintenance. Give you guys, oh yeah, hybrid ceramic bearing, custom spec, not a grocery store skate bearing. Length 1.9, so a little longer than I thought, but hard to measure right from the edges. Care and maintenance. Dislodge most of the material. What I got here? Talking about it should mention the tungsten copper here as well, because they'll kind of do that. So, but I guess it does say copper. See, and then warranty. So good guys over there. So we'll put that aside. So yeah, really dig these guys. Wanted to give it a kind of a second look, because my first video, again, I hadn't had it that long and didn't really appreciate just how good this is. So this is also probably the reason why I got into bars, this spinner. So you've heard me talk about some of my walk and talks, but if you haven't heard me mention, I've got a affinity more towards bars now than tries, where when I started it was definitely all about the tries. And I think this one is partially to blame. I just enjoyed spinning this so much. It is really easy, really fidgetable. The weight is great for pushing and pulling. It moves really fast. It cuts back in so your finger can get a good push, so you almost never miss the spinner. The side-to-side judder is not that bad on either of these. And I should mention on my chunk video, I didn't mention that yesterday, but that side-to-side wobble is not bad either. But if we flick this here, side-to-side judder is not bad. It's easy to pull, it's easy to push, super fidgetable, works real well. So I think it's it's like a gateway bar spinner. That's what we're calling it, the gateway bar spinner. But just a great spinner. So, so definitely what you need to do is get on the wait list, wait your 6 weeks, get yourself one of these guys, and thank me later. I think for me, in feeling them with its size and the fact that the heavy one isn't even all that heavy, this is definitely the way to go. Or a heavier material like brass or copper, although that will patina, but the stainless steel feels really light as well. And again, it's a nice light spinner. So if you like micro spinners, this is sort of on the large size of a micro spinner, but still fantastic. Has a very micro spinner feel due to its weight, the cutouts, and just a real quality piece you need to treat yourself to. So if it's in the budget, sign up for the wait list. Also, when you sign up for the wait list, just as a little final disclaimer, it sounds like you have plenty of time to order. It doesn't sound like, oh, you got to order in the next 2 weeks. It kind of sounds like now your numbers come up, you order whenever you want. So whether that means he'll still honor it in 2, 3, 4 weeks later. So, you know, the order comes up and you're not ready to buy, you know, it's nice to have that option there. So, all right. Yeah, that's all we got to say on these guys today. So we're gonna, can we get a little double warp going? Can we get it? Can we slow them down at the right speed? I think we're gonna get it. Double rainbow warp. Womp, 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 womp. Oh, we bumped him. We don't want to do that. Womp, womp, womp. Kisses, y'all.